Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session of the MBA Spotlight Series. My name is Sadek. I'll be your host today. We're having actually none other than HBS with us right now. Katy and Josh, welcome and thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you so much. We're really happy to be here. Katy, I'll introduce myself quickly and then hand it over, and then we'll get going. I'm super excited to be here with you all. My name is Josh Nelson. I joined HBS's MBA admissions team last summer after graduating from the program in May 2020. So I may throw in some personal anecdotes when questions are coming in or through the presentation. And yeah, really excited to be here joined with Katy.
Yeah, thanks, Josh and Sadak. My name is Katy Kelsall. I work on the financial aid team here at HBS. So I am here to answer any of your questions about financing the MBA.
Perfect. And Katy doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I'm sharing a couple shared fun facts of Katy and I. We're both big fans of Dunkin' Donuts, so you'll see my mug make an appearance. It is not a paid ad. And we both have the same birthday. So,
oh, that's right. Oh, wow. We do.
We're excited to be here. Anyway, well, we're going to, go ahead, Sadek.
Yeah, since you talked about sponsored things, let me just highlight that we have a sponsor for today's session. It's Fortuna Admissions. Make sure you guys check them out. Also, just before getting started, I want to say that we also have two other sessions for today's MBA Spotlight Series day, namely Booth and Haas will be with us. So you guys should make sure to also check them out. And last but not least, if you like today's video, please don't hesitate to like it. Don't hesitate to subscribe to the GMAT Club forum and also the YouTube channel. And feel free to give us your questions. I mean, we have two remarkable people from HBS here today, so they will be sure to they will take all of your questions, I'm sure.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, so I'm super excited. We're going to cover about 15-20-minute presentation. I'll take the beginning about the HBS experience, a little bit about the admissions process, and then hand it over to Katy to talk about some of our financial aid resources. And if we don't get your question answered, you can always email our team at admissions@hbs.edu. We try to keep it easy for you, but we know we probably won't get to everything as much as we'll try. Well, first, I just want to start our conversation with a little history. The Harvard Business School MBA program was the first ever MBA program and is now over 100 years old. The school has experienced a lot of growth and change over time, as you could imagine, but really the underlying mission of the school has always stayed the same, which is to educate leaders who make a difference in the world. And really, this mission permeates everything we do at HBS. Not only is it the basis for how we structure our curriculum or a guide for how we select applicants, but it's also why many of our students and alumni have chosen to attend Harvard Business School, because they want to make an immediate impact on something greater than themselves. And the world desperately needs leaders to address its most urgent and challenging problems. And virtually none of these problems can be addressed without business leaders playing a vital role. So our graduates are located all over the world, and they're using their HBS MBA education to follow their passion and make impact in areas that are of most importance to them. And this includes our alumni who are creating or growing businesses, employing millions of people, or leading government or nonprofit organizations as well. At HBS, we offer a 2-year full-time MBA in general management. And the general management perspective is so important because ultimately no business decision is ever made in a silo. Instead, it's really important for leaders to have a broad understanding of all elements of an organization in order to really make it run successfully. And there are many different ways we teach at Harvard Business School, from case method to hands-on project-based learning to simulations and small group sessions, but all of them are really highly dynamic, highly participatory, and we are best known for the case method, which is the exact opposite of a lecture-based classroom. If you're anything like me, that was most of my undergrad. But really, in the case method, each class is a guided discussion about real-life business challenges facing real companies and leaders. And really, a professor just asks, "What would you do?" calls on someone in the room, and the class discusses and debates the answers and the issues all together. And in fact, 30 to 40% of the time, the person who the case is about is actually right there in class with you. and they'll often offer closing remarks on what actually happens after the case took place. And those conversations are really amazing. Quite frankly, I was part of a conversation where someone in class suggested that the case protagonist actually should have been fired while they were sitting right there, which, as you could imagine, led to some interesting Q&A after the session. But I think that was a really kind of just special experience to have really candid conversation with case protagonists in real time. So the first year we call the required curriculum, or RC year. It consists of 11 courses to really give you a foundation in general management. These include finance, accounting, leadership, marketing, strategy, the entrepreneurial manager, and business, government, and the international economy. And so really, we want to give you just a broad base, again, of this general management understanding. And then in your second year, which we call the elective curriculum, or EC year, you have over 100 electives to choose from, as well as the opportunity to cross-register with other schools across Harvard University, as well as other universities in Boston area, and take on independent projects where you might work with a faculty member to write a case study, or work with kind of a real business on, let's say, a product launch that they want to do, and you can make that part of your curriculum. And the HBS MBA is not just a 2-year proposition. It really is a community that you're connected with for life. The over 87,000 alumni support each other, as well as current students, as they explore different career options and geographies. Our alumni are located in 173 countries, with over 30% living outside of the United States. And HBS provides lifelong learning opportunities to help alumni navigate different stages of their life cycle. And so the school connects alumni to valuable programs, services, and resources within HBS to really drive professional life success, again, far beyond the 2 years of the MBA. So HBS has over 1,800 students in the MBA program, with an average of 930 students in a class. That said, our class size will increase to about 1,000 students for 2 years to accommodate deferrals. HBS wanted to be as compassionate as possible and giving flexibility to the class matriculating in really the peak of COVID. And at the same time, did not want to make it more difficult for prospective students like you applying in future cycles to be admitted. And so our understanding is the class size will return to normal for the class of 2025, which is the admission cycle after this one. Now, there's great diversity in backgrounds and perspectives in our class each year, including for the class of 2021, students who came from over 70 countries and attended close to 300 different universities. And not only do the students represent global diversity, but really the HBS curriculum is global by design as well. And to support international research and the case development process, the school maintains a network of 15 global research centers and offices. And last year, over half of the cases produced were global in scope. Additionally, our alumni are active in regional clubs all over the world as well. There's also just a great legacy of entrepreneurship at Harvard Business School. At the 15-year reunion, we survey our alumni and find that over 50% of HBS graduates have been involved in founding at least one company. And now more and more students are choosing to focus on entrepreneurship while they are here at HBS. Before the MBA, I was actually on staff at the Harvard Innovation Labs, which is the university's entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem. So I have a lot more I could say about it, but just know that this school is incredibly well-resourced for any entrepreneurial endeavors you want to have as a student or beyond. Now, most students come to HBS with the purpose of furthering themselves in their career or switching careers, which about 65% of our students do. And students have access to over 50 career coaches who they can connect with for individualized career coaching as they navigate changing or elevating their career through the MBA program. And you're able to pick and choose those career coaches, bounce between them, have multiple. It's really a remarkable resource. Now, another defining aspect of this immersive learning environment is the section experience. We divide the first year, or RC class, into 10 sections of roughly 93 students that really represent a microcosm of the diversity of a class. It's similar to hiring for a company or assembling a team. We bring together a broad representation of perspectives, industry skills and experiences, and personality types. And this rich diversity of thought is really what fuels our case discussions and helps you bring or build interpersonal skills throughout your RC year. You'll prep for case discussions together, you'll study together, you'll get to know one another, and really count on each other for new insights to help broaden understanding. And much of this community building I'm talking about takes place on the physical campus of Harvard Business School. It's 40 acres, has over 35 different buildings, and it's the only top business school in the US with a residential self-contained campus. About 65% of our students live on campus in either dorms or Harvard apartments. And the campus design really serves to strengthen the sense of community at the school, with just the belief that daily interactions of residential life only increase the potential for learning. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about what we're looking for in an MBA candidate. Taking a step back, the challenge for us as an admissions board is to assemble a diverse class of perspectives, experiences, and backgrounds. With that in mind, all of our candidates will share these 3 attributes in order to succeed in the program. So first is a habit of leadership. And leadership takes many forms in many contexts, whether it's school, work, extracurricular, military service, or community efforts. For us, it's not as important where you demonstrated leadership, but how. And there's not one type of leader who fits here. We deliberately create a class that includes different kinds of leaders, from the frontline commander to the thought leader who really works behind the scenes. Next is analytical aptitude and appetite. There will be plenty of numbers and data that will guide making reasoned and intelligent decisions. And we want people who are not only able to do this work, but really like doing it as well. It is a rigorous academic program, and we want people who will really flourish here. The classroom is demanding and fast-paced, highly verbal environment. So we're looking for students who are intellectually engaged and have really innate intellectual curiosity. We want people who thrive on challenging ideas and can actively contribute to those group discussions we were talking about. Lastly is engaged community citizenship. We're looking for people who are engaged in the world around them and will be engaged as students here at Harvard Business School. We want people with a pattern of engaging in their community, however they define it. Again, this could be school, job, or extracurricular. But there's a very strong sense of community at Harvard Business School, and we want people who will invest just as much in each other's learning as their own. And as a student, you'll even be graded on your contribution to others' learning, because the case method is about the collective experience rather than the individual. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the actual application process, which begins with an online written application where we'll collect information and stories about you. Listed here are just some of the types of materials collected in the written application, which include 2 recommendations, 1 essay that does not have a word limit, which I know some people think it can drive some people a little nuts, but I think it gives people really the freedom to convey what they're trying to convey, and however many words that takes for them. There is a $250 application fee. However, we believe that your financial circumstances really should never prevent you from applying to or attending our MBA program. So if the application fee does prevent a financial burden, we do invite you to request a fee waiver. You can submit a need-based fee waiver form after you start the application, but you can find out whether or not you're approved before you actually complete the application as well. The end result that you want from the written application is to be invited to interview. So about a month after the application deadline, you'll be notified if you're being invited to interview with us. It will be about 30 minutes and conducted by a member of our admissions board. It's really an opportunity for us to get to know you better, and each interview is different depending on what we want to know about each candidate. Historically, we've offered interviews on our campus and in hub cities around the world. Now, given the current global health pandemic, we conducted all interviews in this past cycle over Zoom and are still determining how we'll offer them for next year's cycle. Now, the last part of the application process is the post-interview reflection. And really, this is just an opportunity for you to have the last word. Candidates who are selected to participate in the interview process will need to submit a written reflection on the experience within 24 hours at the end of the interview. Now, I want to take a moment to mention 2+2 as well, which is our deferred admissions process for college seniors or anyone in a master's degree program that has not worked full-time but would like to apply to the MBA program. The evaluation criteria is the same whether you're applying through the regular admissions process or through 2+2, but some preference will be given to high potential individuals on paths that just aren't as well established and leading to graduate business school. So this could include applicants planning to work in an operating company, so think manufacturing, consumer goods, retail, from a lower socioeconomic background, going into a technically demanding role, or pursuing entrepreneurship. There's also a reduced application fee of $100 and the availability of need-based application fee waiver there as well. And if accepted to HBS through the 2+2 program, you will still be required to work full-time for a minimum of 2 years and up to 4 years. But you get to decide kind of each year after if you're going to continue working or choose to attend HBS. It is a very small and competitive program. So if you're thinking you're eligible to apply, definitely check out the college student section on our website. All right, for those of you interested in pursuing 2 degrees to meet your dual interests, we do offer joint degree programs with other Harvard schools, including the law school, the medical school, the Kennedy School of Government. And we have 2 newer additions to our offerings, including the MS MBA in Engineering Sciences, which is with the Paulson School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, which we call SEAS, which had its first graduating class in 2020. And we welcomed our first class in the fall of 2020 for the new MS MBA in Biotechnology and Life Sciences program that we offer in partnership with the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences and Harvard Medical School. In general, these joint degree programs allow a student to complete 2 degrees in less time than being enrolled in them separately. You will still go through the HBS required curriculum if you're in a joint degree program, which is that first year I mentioned. And each program also has its own special curriculum that will affect your elective year or second year, and they have their own application processes. So if you have an interest in any of these joint degree programs, please see the website for more information on each of those as well. All right, this is my last slide before I hand it over to Katy. Listed here are the deadlines for our 2 regular admissions rounds for working professionals to apply, as well as a separate 2+2 round for college students. And that date is TBD. This past year is in late April. We will not start reviewing applications until after an admissions deadline. So you don't need to submit your application any earlier than the designated deadline. You must have a GMAT or GRE score to submit an application, but this can be the unofficial self-reported score that you receive at the end of the exam. I'll also I know that there's probably a question on, do we actually care if it's GMAT or GRE? And when we say there's no preference, I promise you there's no preference. So take the test that you think you're best suited to. And we also do suggest lining up your recommenders as early as possible, as they can often be the cause of delay when you're finalizing your application. It is also important to know that financial aid is always available to you no matter in which round you apply, which feels like a perfect segue to hand it over to Katy, who will discuss more about our financial aid process and resources.
Thank you, Josh. Hi, everyone. If you missed it earlier, my name is Katy Kelsall, and I work on the financial aid team here at HBS. I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about our philosophy in financial aid. Most importantly, we are a need-based school. So that means at HBS, you are admitted based on merit, but your financial aid is completely based on need. And the reason why we believe that this is, a great way to approach financial aid is because we really are trying to bring in a diverse set of perspectives into the classroom from all over the world, from all different backgrounds, regardless of your financial situation. So offering need-based aid really allows us to build that classroom with diverse perspectives. And as Josh was talking about earlier, that's really critical to the case method experience. Our need-based aid is offered by our generous alumni. So we have a lot of alumni, as Josh mentioned as well, and many of them donate to us to be able to offer need-based aid to students. And I'll talk a little bit more about what our relationship is with our alumni later. And lastly, an important thing for me to mention is that we do consider this a shared investment in your future and a good investment in your future as well. But that means that all students are expected to contribute at least some amount financially to the MBA. The financial aid that we offer is very generous, but it doesn't cover the full cost of attendance. So I just want to talk also about our financial aid journey, as we call it, an MBA journey. We don't only offer financial aid for tuition assistance. So not only do we have financial aid for while you're in school, but we really have financial aid programming for throughout your MBA career and even beyond. So I mentioned that we offer need-based scholarships for tuition and fees. We also have some complementary fellowships that you can apply for to help support your financing of tuition and fees while you're in school. You can see a couple examples at the bottom. We have the Forward Fellowship for students who are more or less the breadwinner of their family. They're financially supporting family members, be that parents or siblings. They can apply for additional funding. We also have the Goldsmith Fellowship for students coming from the nonprofit background, and a couple others. Those are all listed on our website as well. We also have the Summer Fellowship Program, which is a program for between your RC and your EC year. So between your first and second year, you can do an internship and get paid for it. This is a great opportunity for those students who fall into that 65% of those who are trying to make a career change or want to explore a different career option. We have summer fellowships that are associated with the Rock Center for Entrepreneurship, so you can work on a new startup or work on your own company. We also have the Social Enterprise Summer Fellowship for students who are looking to get involved with nonprofit or social enterprise. But pretty much anything that you're interested in doing, there is a summer fellowship opportunity for you. So that's a way for you to get that experience again, but also get paid and earn a little bit of money. And you can use that money, towards your cost, your tuition and fees, or, whatever you need to use it for. So it's not directly applied to tuition and fees. It's money that goes directly to you. And lastly, we have what's called career support and exploration funds. And these are what I like to call kind of back-end funding. So there are things that you apply for either at the end of your second year or even after you graduate. So we have some fellowships like the Leadership Fellows and the Go Africa Fellowship, and these are essentially salary support. So for students who are going into a field that may not necessarily pay what our average MBA salary is, there's a fellowship program for students who want to go into the nonprofit sector. That's the Leadership Fellows, or the Go Africa Fellowship for students who want to go work in Africa after graduation. This essentially supports you up to $100,000 salary after graduation. Then we also have loan assistance programs. And so these are programs designed to help you pay down some of that debt that you may have borrowed to attend the HBS MBA program. And again, these are for students who are going into, less represented sectors after graduation. So again, the nonprofit social enterprise sector, people who are seeking entrepreneurship. So you might not be earning, an average salary if you're working on your own startup or company, and then others in the private sector. Just to give you a little snapshot of what our financial aid and the cost of attendance at HBS looks like, I want to first acknowledge that I am very aware that this can be an overwhelming cost. It's certainly, it is an investment. We definitely consider it that. And I know that any of you that are thinking about business school and HBS and specifically are probably thinking about the cost of the MBA. So I just want to break it down a little bit for you. This is the cost of attendance for this upcoming academic year. It is a 2-year program, so you can expect to see this cost times 2. We have been very grateful to say that we've kept tuition and fees flat as much as possible in the last couple of years, and it's something that the school is really committed to. So we're hopeful that the cost will not change dramatically over the next few years. But you can see that the cost of attendance includes both required fees and also discretionary expenses. And the reason why I like to point this out is that there is some flexibility on the amount that you pay to go to HBS. There are the required fees, tuition and fees, which are things that we will charge to you that you definitely can expect to pay. But then those discretionary expenses like room and board, utilities, living expenses, those are things that you have a little bit of flexibility on how much you spend, depending on, if you want to share with more roommates or live off campus versus in a dorm, things like that. On the bottom left, you can see our range of need-based scholarships. So we do assess need on an individual basis. So everybody's scholarship is different. It really depends on your unique background. But you can see the range is between $30,000 and $70,000, and our average scholarship per year is $40,000. And then finally, I'd like to point out that, again, we do consider this an investment in your future, and we think, I feel very confident that our students are set up for success after graduation. So you can see currently our median starting salary is about $149,000. Many students get a signing bonus around $30,000. And these are, a lot of students will just take that signing bonus and apply it to any debt they may have borrowed to attend HBS. But the bottom line here is that we really do see our students successfully, re-enter the workforce after graduation, make a salary that is worthwhile to them, but also allows them to pay off any debt that they may have borrowed to attend HBS. A lot of our students are able to pay it off within 5 years or less, which is much faster than the average borrower. And lastly, I mentioned before that our funding is made possible by our alumni. And something that we do in the financial aid office, I can say we do this very, very carefully, is we match our financial aid recipients with specific alumni donors based on similarities, maybe similar interests, something that they have in common. And so each year in the spring, we have what's called the fellowship dinner, where we invite our alumni donors and our fellowship recipients or scholarship recipients to dinner, and you get to actually meet the person who is financing your education. It's a very unique way to connect with alumni. It's a special way to meet the person who's basically financing your MBA, and it's a connection that you can have for life. And before I turn it over to questions, I realize there's one very important thing that I forgot to mention up top with financial aid. It is available to both domestic and international students. I know that's a common question that we get. All students are eligible for need-based aid. It does not matter if you have U.S. citizenship or not. And with that, I think we can turn it over to Q&A. I saw a lot of good questions coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. There are tons of questions. Thank you, Katie and Josh, for the presentation, first of all. And thank you, our followers and you on YouTube for all the questions. I have a general question from my side because I've seen many people asking about it in their own ways. So everybody has a different GMAT score, has a different work experience, a number of years of experience, different industries, and everybody's asking the same question. Basically, will this be in my favor? Will this be against me? What can you say to that?
Katie, do you want me to take this one?
Well, I would just start by saying that, we look at the application holistically. So there's not one piece of the application or one experience that is going to make or break you, essentially. We're really looking at you as a whole person. And so with that, we do put the class profiles on the website. We do show ranges of test scores, ages, things like that. And that can be helpful as you're approaching the application. But I would just say to be mindful that those are ranges, that, there's not one specific thing that we're treating more important than the other. And everybody has strengths and weaknesses. So, you may have a weakness that is overpowered by your strength. All of that is to say is to kind of take that information with a grain of salt and think about it as, we're looking at you as a whole person. not everybody is going to be at the high end of the spectrum or the low end.
Yeah, and I'll just add quickly too, I mean, we talked a lot about the case method and the importance of diverse perspectives, particularly I think at Harvard Business School, where the class content is created by the students who are there. So I would just encourage you, wherever you are on whichever spectrum of this question you're asking on, think about what unique perspectives you're able to bring because of that. So if you have more work experience, what have those experiences allowed you to see or do that maybe other people wouldn't be able to bring into the classroom community, and really start thinking about maybe those differences as potential unique strengths, and to kind of frame it in that way in your own thinking as you're kind of doing the self-reflection process of the application. But yes, and just echoing everything that Katy said as well.
Yeah, if I may add also from my own perspective, if you guys feel you're ready to apply, if you feel you have the best possible application and that you fit HBS, then definitely apply. I mean, you never know. It could work with HBS, not work with others, or vice versa. So if you feel like you can be part of HBS, just do it. Yeah, no hesitate. I got a question that keeps repeating as well regarding the difference between R1, R2 rounds. What can you guys say towards this?
Yeah, I can respond quickly because I think that so often, right? It's like, oh, round one, round two, like, is there a better chance? There truly is not a difference in terms of our eyes. And so please apply to the round that you feel like you're best suited to apply for. For me, I was a round two applicant because I needed that kind of full time in terms of what I was balancing with work. And so do whatever is kind of best suited to you and your schedule and what your kind of year is looking like. It really does not matter from the application or the admissions perspective.
Yeah, and I would just add, definitely apply when you're ready. That's the most important piece. But also from the financial aid lens, there is also no difference in your eligibility for financial aid. We actually don't award financial aid till after round two. I mean, we'll certainly give estimates so you have an idea of what you're eligible for before making a decision. But there's no difference between round one and round two. We're not running out of funding or anything like that.
Since we're talking about admission, there's also a nice question mentioned in the forum, which is about the essays. Can you guys give any hint about what should be done or what should not be done for the essays to send out?
I think this goes back to Katy's point in terms of a holistic review. I think it's really easy for people to get caught up in certain parts of the application, right? Whether that's assessing schools and looking at test scores or GPA, or when they're doing their application and thinking about the essay. I really would encourage everyone to think about every component of the application that you're completing and what additionally can you add in terms of the essay that paints kind of a different picture. So instead of kind of restating your resume where we already have that as part of the application, really think about the essay as an opportunity to engage kind of different parts of what you think, what parts about you are missing in terms of the other questions that we're asking. And it really being kind of up to you again in terms of length and content, what feels best for you on that front.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Regarding now joint degrees, there is a question from Ray Liu who's asking about the application process. What to do here?
I can take that, Josh. So for the majority of the joint degrees, for all of the joint degrees, you're essentially applying for two programs separately. And if you're admitted to each program, then you're able to do the joint degree. So for most of them, you're applying to each school. You're just filling out two complete different applications. For the MS MBA programs, they are part of the same application. There's one application for the MS MBA programs, but the philosophy still holds true. Like, you're still applying to get into each program separately. And if you get into both, you can do the joint degree. Alternatively, if you got into one of the programs, if you got into, the law school, but not HBS or vice versa, you can do one of those programs. Okay,
that's good, because this same exact question came up. So what happens if we get accepted in one but not in the other? There's also a question that I've seen earlier. I cannot find it because there's so many about COVID. So what will happen next year? Are courses going to be still online? Is it going to be a hybrid style thing, or is it going to be fully on campus? Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, I'll frame it in terms of what happened last year, I think, as hopeful in words of encouragement. Last year, Harvard has 11 schools, and the business school was the only one that committed to hybrid learning from the beginning of the fall. And so I think that Harvard Business School has always wanted the program to look as closely as it does in quote unquote a normal year throughout COVID. And I think, I'm not sure if the school has made a formal announcement in terms of what will be happening in the fall, but I think we're all really encouraged by what we're seeing. And then we're also, I know we're talking to prospective students who are applying this year for the following year. So I would hope that looking out, again, we'll get closer and closer to normal relatively quickly. But Katie, feel free to add anything if I missed something.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say even this past year, we had, most every student on campus. And so even though we were hybrid, it was still, as much of the residential and, collaborative community that we had before. So that's definitely something that we're going to continue to thread into the program for, as much as we can.
Thank you for that. I still have two more questions now that are a bit more specific, but still about the admission, let's say, process. So one is from Ravi Nair, and his question is a bit specific. He's asking, okay, if I'm a bit on the older side, I think I picked up the wrong question. But there was one question from one person asking about, okay, if I'm on the older side of the age spectrum, can I still apply to HBS, or should I rather apply for another program that is more targeted towards the 15 years of experience that I have?
I mean, I'm happy to take this too, Katie.
Yeah.
I would just say it really is going to be a personal decision, I think, for everyone on what MBA program, where you're looking, which ones to apply to for you. We have students who are in their late 40s who attend a full-time MBA program at Harvard Business School. So it's really analyzing which program is going to add the value that you're looking for, regardless of kind of, again, if you look at an average year of experience, if you feel like, oh, I'm out of that average, realizing an average is just that. It's an average. So we have a really wide range within that.
Yeah. And I would just reiterate, I mean, I feel like I can't say it enough that I really encourage you not to get too caught up in the averages of anything, the GMAT scores, the ages, anything like that, because that only, makes you a little bit hesitant or resistant. And there's no final say there. I mean, there's no real cutoff for age or anything like that.
Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, I don't find the other question anymore. Again, but it was about from one person who's graduating from college in July 15th, I think, and she's asking if that still fits the 2+2, I feel, application. So either the 2+2 application, or all right, if I'm graduating in July, would I still be eligible to apply for the normal MBA starting in August next year?
Do you want to take this, Katie, or you want me?
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. So you would have been eligible to apply in this last cycle at the end of April if you are graduating this year. I believe it's through September or sometime in the fall. Definitely fact check me on our website. And at some point, I think it might be December actually through the following summer, you can apply for that year's 2+2. If you have already graduated or missed this last year's application as a senior, or again, someone who went to graduate school with no work experience between, you will be eligible to apply to the full-time program when you have 2 years of experience upon starting that program. So if you're graduating this July, you likely would not be eligible this year unless you had some full-time work experience like before school in any capacity or military experience. So there's extenuating circumstances. But you would require likely at least then 1.5 years of work experience before applying, and so that you would hit 2 years when you actually start in that fall.
Yeah, I would just add to that in a little note about the 2+2 program and work experience, things like that. The 2+2 program is a very competitive program. Most of our students are admitted through the traditional MBA program. So a couple things to keep in mind if you applied for 2+2 or are interested in that. I just, be aware that it is competitive, but there's also no reason not to, if you didn't get in through the 2+2 program, to then reapply through the traditional MBA program. And that being said, we're a very reapplicant friendly school in general. So, if you applied through 2+2 or the regular traditional way and weren't admitted, there's no reason, if you still want to come to HBS, we would welcome you to reapply.
Yeah, about 10% of our class every year is reapplicants.
Okay. Now let's switch back a bit from the admission process to talk more about the HBS experience, or what can a candidate leverage out of this experience. And a nice question that I've seen is about the possibility or the difficulty to change one's industry function. Do we have statistics in mind here that we could share with this member?
Yeah, so 65% of our students do switch industries. I think it's actually the MBA really does suit itself well for transitioning, because I think especially Harvard Business School with our general management approach, I think ultimately any industry, in my opinion, can receive value from that approach, looking at problems that they might be facing. So for me, as someone who was going into higher education, really understanding a general management approach is actually incredibly helpful in the higher education industry. So let alone whatever field you might be considering, nonprofit, government, a different industry within, whether it be operating companies, consulting, finance. I think a lot of people use it to transition.
Yeah, and I would just add, we have, like Josh said, we have 65% of our students switch careers. A lot of people who think they're not going to switch their career come to HBS and then learn that they really are interested in something else. So it's definitely very common, and we have a ton of supports in place to help you with that transition. I mentioned Summer Fellows program, but we also have the Rock Center for Entrepreneurship that you can work with throughout your career at HBS if you're interested in entrepreneurship. We have career coaches that are available while you're a student, but even after graduation. So it's very possible and happens all the time.
Yeah, and to just piggyback on that, there's one question from Divya asking about how exactly, or what are some examples of how the career center could help students change their career. So here, for specifically, she's asking for wellness tech PM, but in general, could we talk a bit more onto what sort of services are being offered for this kind of things?
Yeah, I would say the career sources Katy mentioned are great. I will also use this just as a time to pitch that I think this is one of the huge benefits of Harvard Business School size. With it being larger classes, you inevitably have larger alumni network as well. And so, if you want to go into any field, I can almost guarantee you there's a HBS alum who's in that space as well. And I actually think there's a huge benefit of people pursuing similar niche industries where alumni who are just really excited to pay it forward. Again, we try to bring people into the program who are engaged in terms of community citizenship, like one of those 3 criteria we mentioned. And so we're finding people who want to give back to the communities they're a part of and the communities that are coming after. So I think, yes, there's going to be career professional development resources. Again, over 50 career coaches means you have career coaches in a lot of really unique fields as well. But also just a pitch in terms of the alumni community, the fellow students that you have. You'll actually very likely have people with a similar shared interest, even if you feel like it's a pretty niche area.
Yeah, and to add to that, we have lots of student clubs and HBS initiatives that, we have the healthcare initiative. I can't name all of them right now. I would encourage you to look at the website. But as Josh said, there's a million ways to get involved and focus on something that you're particularly interested in.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think we're reaching the end of our time for today's session. Katy, Josh, thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate you, and thank you for taking the time to answer all these many questions.
Yes, thank you too. But also, I know Josh mentioned it earlier. If we didn't get to your question, you can email us at admissions@hbs.edu.
And just one final note, like Katy mentioned, just go for it. Apply if you feel like Harvard Business School would be a right fit for you in terms of the curriculum, the community, whatever reasons you might be pursuing an MBA, please do not self-select out of our process. go for it, apply, and we'll be really excited to read your application when it comes through.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And just before we get going, I just want to say we still have now, following the session, the booth session, and then the Haas one, and ending up with the Haas Zoom breakout session. So if you guys are interested about these schools, also make sure you tune in. Don't hesitate also to like this video if you find the content good. Also, I'll put thumbs down if you didn't like it, and don't hesitate to give us feedback. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.